shows are individually owned and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Welcome to the Edventures in Tech podcast, talking the latest tips and trends in educational technology to innovate and engage your students. Here are your hosts, Andrew and Dan.
Hello, everybody. Once again, welcome to the Adventures in Tech podcast. This is episode number 12 for the week of January 20th. I think you know my name is Andrew.
And you know my name is Dan.
And we once again want to thank you, as always. If you like the content, help us out by providing feedback and a rating on wherever you download your podcast from. It's great for us. We greatly appreciate the support. The feedback has been fantastic. There's a lot of things going on, outside of the regular world, right, Dan?
That's
but
true.
We are getting slammed, and it's a great thing. I mean, we love being slammed, running around crazy as, I'm crazy as it is, and Dan, he just runs crazy. So, but lots of things going on, and we're going to get to our news and everything like that. But, as far as episode 12 goes for this week, there are 3D printing things going on. We got a lot of PBL going on.
A lot of PBL. I think people have tuned into our podcast, and now it's yes. I'm assuming a sound effect is coming for that at some point.
I don't know. I got to think about that. But, yeah, it is. It's great. The project-based learning and just the kids are so engaged. And we were literally, as we were planning this episode and right before we started recording, we were just having a lengthy conversation about engagement and how, because this is kind of the time of the year where there's nothing, I don't want to say to look forward to, but the holidays are over. We're in our routines. It's cold today specifically. People are bundled up, and you're like, what? You got to get that excitement factor going. And I think PBL, mini PBLs, that we've been talking about, just dipping your toe in the water with it and just trying one thing out. Not only will excite you as an educator, but also that engagement and excitement level for your students will go off the charts.
Absolutely. And you're looking at, we talk about PBL, we talk about blended learning, and really the technology and everything we have available at our fingertips, especially if students have devices, you can really increase the engagement factor by allowing students to be part of the learning process.
Right.
So the more students are engaged, the more the students have ownership, the more they're going to engage. And, this was told to me a long time ago. Your best classroom management is a good lesson plan. So if you have something good that you're putting forward in your classroom management's going to be better. You don't have to sit there and monitor a student on a device to see, are they doing what they need to do? You're going to see that through the interactions that you're happening in your classroom.
Right, and they're going to be curating and creating that content, and those experiences are memorable. That's going to, like you said, excite them and keep them on task. And that's kind of where, we're going to talk about a couple things. We've, started planning some things out. We have special guests. We're still working on scheduling, but hopefully in the next couple episodes, there'll be some special guests that we're trying to work out. Scheduling is always a busy time for us, for them, for everybody involved, but that is on the horizon. So wanted to mention real quick, a lot of people are always like, well, I'm in PD, I need some online courses. And then we talk a lot about NYSCATE, and it's free to join if you haven't joined. But there's no charge to New York State educators for NYSCATE's online courses. They're an approved CTLE provider, and there's tons and tons of courses.
I'm taking 6 right now.
All right, so there you go. That's just a bunch. But, just real quick, we'll put the link in the show notes, but they have best practices for online course design and Bitmoji educators and book creators, Canvas, creating a culture of digital citizens, which I think is huge. We talk about computer science, digital fluency. They're having that, and we know the new computer science standards for New York State are going to be coming. So there's a lot with, computer science, digitize your content, choice boards. We talk about that, Dan.
Yep. And, I did. I was looking, I always want to see what's out there and see how much I can learn. So I did probably about 2 weeks ago, went in and registered for some NYSCATE online courses. I am taking the one for Choice Board Educator. I am taking one on Cami, on Flipgrid, on escape rooms, on the technology-empowered educator. So they have so many relevant topics out there, and they're all asynchronous.
Right.
So it puts you in a great learning platform. You do have the help of a facilitator, and it's always good to keep fresh and have something that you can put in your instructional bag of tricks.
Right. So, and and Wakelet's one of them, and you know how much we love Wakelet after running through 2 episodes and screencasting and everything. But
Absolutely.
the one thing I want to say is they do offer CTLE credits, but please, just, this is kind of a disclaimer. Please check with your specific HR department or whatnot if any of it will be counted for credit before signing up and doing everything. Don't say you heard it from us. Everybody's different. What's acceptable, what's not, as far as for certain components, whether it be certification, etc. But so a lot of free courses, and again, that's the best part. They are free. You can register, and it's kind of like learning at your own pace, which is great. Weekly Windup, Dan, let's talk. What's going on?
Okay, so one thing that I did see that just started that looks super fun is every year you have the Doodle for Google contest.
Yep.
So the Doodle for Google 2022 contest is now open for K-12 students with the theme "I Care for Myself By." So if this is something you want to introduce to your students, we'll put the link in the show notes. But basically what it is a competition on designing those Google Doodles.
Yeah, we love those.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you can tell people, what is a Google Doodle?
So a Google Doodle is basically those things that you see when you go to the homepage, and it's always changing.
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't know if everybody does, but I always have Google as my homepage when it opens up, as my search, So they're just fun. They're surprising. They're temporary on that Google homepage, kind of like an alteration of the logo. And it's intended to commemorate holidays and events and achievements. So, I know we just had Martin Luther King, holiday. And celebrating the life of Dr. King. And, Google on their homepage did have a dedication in the Doodle area for Dr. King. So definitely, hits the events, achievements, notable historical figures of countries and everything. So, anytime you open it up, you never know what you're going to see. So that's why the Google Doodles, and you want to be part of that contest, it's now open. And they have a theme.
Right. So the theme is "I Care for Myself By." To look more into it, you can just go to doodles.google.com. It'll tell you all about Google Doodles. It'll tell you about the contest, how it works, prizes, judges, and then there's also a lot of educator resources that you can provide for your students.
That's great. So kind of, have a little fun if you, have some free time, or, those students that finish early, perhaps this is an enrichment activity that can work for them. So the next thing I do want to talk about is Kami Connect. So Kami, Kami. We will link it in the show notes, but they are having a free virtual event connecting educators who utilize Kami from all across the world. That's going to be held on February 26, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Free registration, and it's basically the world's biggest virtual ed tech experience that really talks a lot about Kami, using it, inclusion in the classroom, being engaging and dynamic, and using that whiteboard. So they have a whole slew of people. It's a half-day conference. Seems like something you definitely may want to check out.
And they keep talking about a special mystery guest.
Yeah, I see that. So we'll put the link in there, and you'll see exactly what we're talking about with the mystery guest. The silhouette doesn't really tell me, doesn't give me any indications of who it may be. I was hoping it maybe could, like some kind of distinguished feature that we would be able to say, I know who that is, but unfortunately it does not. So they just use a mystery guest silhouette. So definitely check out Kami Connect if you want. I know we talked about Text Help last week,
right?
And on the most recent episode, they have another feature. We talked. These companies are always changing. Dan, what now has Text Help done?
Right. So this was just released where Text Help, and we talked about Orbit Note,
Yep.
That PDF reader. But now in Orbit Note, you have one-click OCR scanning for Orbit Note. So what that really means is there are some PDF documents that are able to be read by a screen reader.
Yep.
And usually these documents are created digitally. If someone created something in Microsoft Word or Google Docs and saved it as a PDF, it will have that OCR, and I think it's optical character recognition.
That is correct, yep.
And so that a screen reader would be able to read it. Now, a lot of people have paper that they scan in and put in as a PDF.
Yep.
And those do not have that OCR layer on them, so a screen reader will not be able to read those PDF documents. Now, when that PDF is opened up in OrbitNote, it's going to be able to use AI and all of that to scan that and create that OCR layer, so it can be used by a screen reader.
Right. Another great thing that Techs Help, I know we talked about the whole slew of options that they have for education on last week's episode number 11. Definitely going to be great with OrbitNote and coming, it's out for Chrome now, I believe, and then I believe it'll soon be coming to Edge as a browser. So definitely worth checking out, especially if you're using those PDFs a lot. And, you definitely want to learn how to OCR a PDF. We'll put the link in there, and it's something you can definitely check out to utilize in your instruction. Google had an update, and it's great. They had a couple, but this one I thought was kind of relevant. I sometimes don't know with files, like if there's a suspicious file. I mean, we save everything to Drive, let's be honest. We live in the cloud. And this was announced at Google Cloud Next 2021. They're trying to add protections to safeguard against abusive content. So, and it's great for school districts because you never know what's shared with you, and it goes, the link in your Drive. So now there's a warning banner that will come up in Google Drive to alert users of suspicious files. So if it's a potentially suspicious or dangerous file in Google Drive, the user opens it, there's going to be a warning banner to help protect not only the user, but the organization from malware, phishing, and ransomware, which unfortunately we have to deal with. I hate it, but it's a part of our life right now. And these warnings, we're already available with docs, sheets, slides, and drawings, but now your entire Google Drive, because let's be honest, you may have videos in there, photos, whatever it is. Now it's going to kind of automatically give you that warning banner in the event that there is something suspicious. So you don't have to do anything. Your admins will make sure they take care of it. Rapid release, scheduled release domains, it's a gradual rollout. Could take up to 15 days. Hopefully you don't see it. It means you got clean files, good. Right? But it's already started, to roll out to all of the domains. And it's available to all Google Workspace customers, G Suite Basic, and the business customers. So something definitely that could help out in the event that there's something not looking appropriately within Google Drive. So all right, so let's talk about this week's episode. Before, I did want to talk one more thing with Google. We talked about being efficient and effective, right, Dan?
Exactly.
And there's a wakelet, and a lot of times we forget these things with Google tips. When we're talking about Drive, like we were just mentioning, there's a lot of tips and tricks and some quick hacks that can help you with Google, whether it be PDFs, copies, exports, edits. A lot of people don't know these tricks, Dan.
Right.
So, for example, and we'll put the link, if you want to have a PDF link automatically to a Google slide or a Google Drawings document, all you have to do at the end, we always know at the end it says edit, right? EDIT. It says edit. But all you have to do is end up putting the word export /PDF. It's great.
I mean, I love those little shortcuts. My favorite one with the slide deck is getting rid of edit and putting present.
Yeah.
Right? So that way when someone clicks on that link, the slide deck is automatically going to go to present mode. So when you're sharing something with your students and you want them just to have a full visual of what's there, they don't have to open the slide deck and then click present to see it. It's going to automatically take them to that full present mode.
Right, which is great, and that's awesome to have. Another one of my favorites, we talk about, there's two. First is copy.
I knew that was coming.
We got to force a copy, right? Let's say you're collaborative documents or, you're an administrator and you need something filled out by all of your team leaders or teachers in your building, and you give them the copy of the Google Doc and the first person writes all over it and then the next person has to write all over it, and then it's just like you're going to version history. Forget it.
Or there's the other situation where you want someone to make a copy of something, but they don't, and then they keep requesting editing access over and over and over again. So by changing it from edit to copy, it's automatically going to force the user to make a copy, which gives them their own original copy of the document in their Google Drive that they can then edit. So this is great when you need to get things out to a large group of people, but also when you're working with your students, especially if you're building hyperdocs.
Yep.
It's not always easy to have everything linked to an assignment in Google Classroom, especially if you're pushing it out over multiple classes. But that force a copy will allow students to click on something in a hyperdoc, get their own copy of it, and then they can submit it to an assignment in Google Classroom. It makes things really easy.
And that's important, especially if you're a good planner, because when you schedule those posts in Google Classroom, you can't take that link until it actually posts. So as you're planning out a unit or whichever, a topic for the hyperdoc, the forced copy will make it a lot easier. And then it just takes one extra step. You teach your students, you just create the assignment 2, and you teach them how to add their work to that file. It's the same process, just one extra step instead of, so you're planning out ahead, you do a little more work, and you'll be all set on that. There's also make a copy with comments. One thing I also like is preview. So, and again, these are going to work with doc, slides, sheets, and drawings. If you change the word edit at the end to preview, it's going to give you a preview. And then one of my favorites, Dan, which I think is underutilized the most, is template.
Yes.
We talk about that, and you're always like, how'd they get that use template button in the top right corner that's in blue or whichever? It's just taking the edit button out, the edit word at the end, and putting template /preview. So we'll link to all this. It's in a Wakelet, it was provided. I don't remember where we found it, but it was online. Definitely something to kind of use back as a resource. But I think that can definitely help, those collaboration tools and getting those things out, as you utilize them in instruction or even with your colleagues. So, all right, let's talk video.
We've been talking a lot about audio. Let's go to video.
Yeah. So video creation tools. A lot of people are like, I want my kids to be able to demonstrate a task, right? And we talked about Screencastify. I know I'm going out of order right here, but Screencastify, I think we've mentioned on a couple of previous, it's really powerful in the sense because they have Screencastify Submit now. And all the features that Screencastify is now adding really it levels the playing field with an Edpuzzle.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if your students, even if they don't have accounts, you get 5 minutes. To demonstrate an understanding of a task, 5 minutes is more than enough time.
Oh, more than enough. 5 minutes is long.
We're talking. Secondary. I would say even K2. Let's just say if we're talking about Screencastify Submit, and you set it up the routines in your culture in your classroom, and you want to almost have a student orally read, because sometimes you can't get to all the students. We understand. We're trying. Time management, differentiation. You teach them how to use that Screencastify, and they can submit it. You don't need 5 minutes for the kid to record. You just want to see how their fluency is, how their pace, how their annotation is, everything like that. You can get that quickly with Screencastify.
And with a lot of these tools that we're going to talk about, but Screencastify in particular, or any of the other screen recorders, because there's a lot that's there. We're looking. The overall objective is finding ways for students to demonstrate their understanding of a particular topic. And technology allows us to do that in ways that we couldn't do it before. I think just answering a question on a worksheet does not really demonstrate understanding all that often. It may show that a student is really good at finding a paragraph in a textbook that answers a question and then either copying it directly or changing the words, putting it in there, putting an answer, and moving on. That doesn't necessarily demonstrate an understanding, but finding opportunities for students to really show their thought process, to really engage in metacognition. Video is a great tool. Audio is, but video is a great tool. Using something like Screencastify, they can pull something up that they're working on their computer screen, do a screen recording, highlight the different areas, expand upon it in a conversational way where they can talk about their understanding.
Right.
And I think that's really powerful as we look at designing our instructional spaces.
Listen, and I'll be honest, Dan's got better eyesight than me, so when he sits next to me in class, he's always looking over at my paper for the answer too, right? No, I'm just kidding. But that's another thing that sometimes, depending upon the age level, you never know if kids are doing that or not. But the best part, like we were saying, with Screencastify Submit, it's simplistic in its best form because it forgoes all the fancy editing options. And you assign it, record right from Classroom, whichever, and collect them quick, easy, and you don't need whole class. I'm thinking you got 5 devices, let's say, boom, they can hit Screencastify and rotate, to demonstrate the task. You're ready to move on to your next unit or whatever it may be. So Screencastify is very, easy to use. Once you set it up, you're ready to go. I think it's great.
I mean, if we look at some of the other video creation tools and how you can use that, one thing that we should always remember is Flipgrid.
Yeah.
Flipgrid is an amazing tool, especially how it keeps growing and growing. I mean, we talked about the power of Flipgrid for audio only, but that video, you can use Flipgrid in a very similar fashion that you can use Screencastify. What's nice is Screencastify you can't really use on devices too well, on mobile devices.
Right.
So
right.
if you're limited to mobile devices, Flipgrid allows you to do a lot of what Screencastify can do. It's easy to manage, it's easy to access, and it's easy for students to create. They can have backdrops, lenses, filters, music, pen tool. They can do screencasts in Flipgrid, which is a great addition. They can add text, they can add images, stickers. It's easy editing. So it's a great platform for students to demonstrate their understanding. And it's by nature collaborative.
Right.
So you can have everybody in your class be able to view the Flipgrids, or they can be private only to the teacher. You can
public,
public. You can moderate what's put on there.
Yeah.
You can decide if they can comment or not. So it's a really powerful tool.
Yeah, it's very robust. And, as we go through these, I think we're talking about how they can level them up in grade levels, and metacognition. But I do want to say, I don't think it's one video creation tool is the answer for everything. I think you have to look and utilize what works for the task at hand and kind of sprinkle it in based on that. I don't think there's one tech tool like, I'm all Flipgrid this year. No, you may need those different ones based on Screencastify, or we're going to, I'll let Dan talk about Adobe Spark in a few minutes. We talk about green screen with Do Ink. It's very inexpensive. It's a great way to bring different backgrounds in. It's kid-friendly. The editing is easy. And again, it's only on iPads and iPhones,
right.
But it's another tool based on what your outcome is that could be utilized.
I mean, green screen is great. I mean, everyone gets a kick out of using a green screen.
Oh, they love it.
They love it. But if you're limited to using an iPad or a tablet, Do Ink works really well. You can also use WeVideo for green screen.
Yep.
You can use a lot of your different. You can use iMovie.
Yep.
There's a lot of different options for green screens.
Right, depending upon exactly what your infrastructure is, whether it be Chromebooks or MacBooks or iPads or what have you, will kind of dictate a little bit of how much flexibility you have with these tools. But like Dan said, green screen for Do Ink. WeVideo is another one. They do have the basic editing for free, and you can utilize a classroom dashboard. There's more. There is a paid version, okay? For that, the green screen, that is a paid app, but there could be licenses available in your district. And when we say I think it's $4.99, not free $99,
No.
but I think it's $4.99. And the districts may have a certain allocation of apps of Do Ink and the green screen feature. We talked about Adobe and how they were now they rebranded themselves,
Right?
And it's Adobe Creators. I'm not well versed in it yet.
I'll keep talking and you'll get it right.
I will.
But we talk about video for demonstrating understanding. We talk about video for collaboration and sharing all those resources. But one thing, and that's really engaging for students, is creating their own movies, their own digital movies, their own digital videos. For a while, you were stuck on using something like Windows Movie Maker, or you were using iMovie, and
that's like a bad word, Windows Movie Maker.
I know that was a bad word, but which are great tools. I still use iMovie now and then. I use things like Camtasia. I know you use an Adobe product.
Yep. Yeah, I use Premiere.
You use Premiere. So video creation tools are really robust, but often that's a little bit too much for what we want to do with our students in designing their own video representations of things.
Right.
So Adobe Spark Video is a fantastic tool. It's a slides-based editor. So it looks like you're developing a Google slide deck.
Yep.
But you're actually creating a video in a slide format that you would not know is slides. It would look just like a video. You can You can create slick, appealing videos that include pictures, video, text, icons, narration, music with transition, effects, and you can collaborate on it on the web.
Right.
So it's a great, you're like, oh, I want my students to make a documentary. I want them to make a video about this certain topic. I want them to show something. Adobe Spark Video is a great tool for that.
And it really levels up what the ability, like what the students can do. And we were talking about Creative Cloud. That's the the umbrella, the parent company of of all the Adobe suite. So it's Adobe Creative Cloud Express, which used to be Adobe Spark.
Right.
So it's now called Adobe Creative Cloud Express instead of Adobe Spark. It previously was Adobe Spark, but it's something to me, ignite your ideas and allow students to really be creators, not consumers, as we often talk about.
And in that online video editor, WeVideo is a really good one. It does have a layout that's similar to Premiere, that's similar to iMovie. There is a free version of it, which works well, but you're limited to the amount of minutes you can produce video for. I remember the last time I looked, it was like 5 minutes. I'm not sure where it's at now, but WeVideo is a great tool for that video creation.
Yeah, and there are a couple others. We'll post them. I'm not very familiar with Capwing, but basically students are able to add subtitles, text animations, images, audio to their videos, and even edit, green screen, and collaborate. It is free, and it is web-based. So, again, looking at what your infrastructure is regarding devices, in the ecosystem of your district will kind of dictate exactly, which tools and which applications you want to utilize for the video creation for students to demonstrate their understanding. The last one that, I know it got a lot of buzz about pre-pandemic was Prezi. And we talked about Prezi, and I haven't utilized it much, Dan, because of all the other companies that have kind of presented themselves in this field. But do you know anything specific with Prezi? I don't know specifically. I'm thinking EdLaw 2D for New York State. I don't even know if they're compliant. That's another thing we always check with your district for all of these applications to ensure that they are meeting COPA, FERPA, and EdLaw 2D, in New York State, compliance as far as privacy agreements go.
Yeah, I'm not too sure again, but there is, Prezi. It was a while ago.
Yeah,
I feel like
it's
like almost like 10 years ago when I was first introduced to Prezi, and at first I'm like, oh, this is really cool, and then I was like, oh, this is making me really nauseous. How many times I'm zooming in and zooming out watching something?
It's that old. What's that effect from the Ken Burns effect from video from Apple? There, right?
Right, but there is they have grown, and there is a way to create Prezi videos, so I definitely think it's something to look into. But as Andrew said, I'm not sure about compliance and so forth. There's another thing too that I just want to point out, that for teachers, in order to create some videos and different things, there's a Google Slides add-on called Creator Studio,
which is great.
You can create your GIFs, you can create videos, and you can create SlideCasts just using Google Slides. So I talked about how Adobe Sparks uses a slides template to make your videos. And it really is slick. It looks good. You can turn your slide decks into videos by using Creator Studio.
Right. So, and I think, when we talk about Prezi, I remember they launched, I think, in like the late 2009, 10, around there. But the big thing with Prezi was presenting over webcams and everything. And I think just the companies have evolved since the pandemic, so you're able to present in a Google Meet and WebEx and GoToMeeting, GoToWebinar, Microsoft Zoom, all of them. They've really upped their game, so it's kind of just, Prezi's not the only option anymore when you're presenting live, in a meet. So there are options. Again, check it out if it's something, that you're thinking is, beneficial. You can definitely check all of these, video creation tools out to kind of see, okay, let's make a plan. How am I going to move forward? What's the best video creation tool for me to do that to get my outcome?
And just remember to have a purpose for your videos.
1000%. Yep.
And what you're looking to get out of it. And then finding the appropriate video tool to utilize in order for that purpose. So you should definitely have some specific goals in what you want the video to encapsulate. So whether it's for students to demonstrate understanding of a topic by showing evidence of something they created.
Yep.
So that would be a great use for Screencastify or Flipgrid with the screencast as well. So we're going to attach a great document by from
Jake Miller.
Jake Miller.
Yeah, Jake Miller. If
Not
you
to
don't
be
know,
confused with
Matt Miller. Right.
But there's Jake Miller, and you might know him from the Edu Duct Tape.
Yeah, the Educational Duct Tape podcast. He also has a book out. JakeMiller.net, I believe, is the website.
Mm-hmm.
Great guy. I believe he's in Ohio as well. So definitely check him out on the socials, on Twitter, and everything like that. I think that's going to pretty much wrap up episode 12. Dan, any final thoughts?
No, not right now. I just want to wish everyone the best, and at any point you have any questions, reach out to us.
That's it. So we appreciate everybody listening, taking the time out of their day. Thank you for all your support on all the platforms, leaving us reviews. Again, questions, comments, suggestions, please reach out. Tech hard, work smart, live in adventure.
Find Andrew on all socials at A Nicola Tech and Dan at WCSD Tech DR.